Welcome to the Filmsteins, the podcast where we discuss all things movies. Join us as we dive deep into the latest releases, revisit classic films, and explore the art of cinema. Whether you're a film fanatic or just love a good flick, we've got you covered. From Hollywood blockbusters to indie gems, we'll be breaking down the storytelling, cinematography, and everything in between. So grab some popcorn, sit back, and get ready for some cinematic magic. If you like what you hear, please consider subscribing to our Patreon at patreon.com/filmsteins. We offer tiers at the $1, $5, and $20 level, where the $5 tier grants the ability to request films for future episodes. This is the Filmsteins, where movies are more than just entertainment, they're an experience. All around you. And welcome back to another episode of the greatest podcast in the world, the Filmsteins. Let's go.
Let's go. Where are we going?
To the movies.
I like that.
You like that? You can join us every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for new and great episodes of the Filmsteins on your favorite movies, including Jaws, Evil Dead Rise, Dunkirk, Teenage Kraken, Little Mermaid,
Barbie,
of course. Lots of great episodes coming every single week to you guys. Go listen to them. Thank you for listening to all those and supporting us where you can. Donate $1 if you care about us. I'm joined today by my explosive friend, Lucy.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, my friend. And today we're talking about the huge new movie, Oppenheimer. Been out for a couple weeks now. You may have heard of it. This is one of those movies I was looking forward to, as you may remember.
Yes.
Probably second on my most anticipated list. I don't love Christopher Nolan, as I may have made clear in the Dunkirk episode. But he's one of these directors, much like Greta Gerwig, actually. Funny enough that we have these huge films kind of come out on top of each other.
Yeah, didn't they call it the Barbieheimer weekend?
Yeah,
something was trending.
Yeah, which is a fun marketing thing, I guess. But it is a little tone deaf in that Oppenheimer kind of takes the stage in this way that it talks about one of the sickest, as in disgusting, things ever created by humanity. And it pairs it with
Barbie.
So, like, I get the kind of controversy, actually, I guess, behind people using that. But it's a whatever marketing point, I guess, But I guess that mostly might offend people in Japan. But which is not funny, but I mean, yeah, it's what it is.
Well, if we're not gonna cry, we gotta laugh,
That's true. So this film is directed by Christopher Nolan, so it comes with some baggage, and that we have a funny timeline thing again going on here. It's done much better this time around versus Dunkirk, right?
Yeah.
It suffers from a similar thing in that we go back and forth, and it's not really hard to tell, but the length of the actual film starts to confuse me in the way that I don't understand exactly what this movie is trying to tell me at points. And after everything is said and done, we're left with the conspiracy being the what's in the spotlight here. But I thought we were going to get, walking into this, I thought we were going to get a little bit more of a character study of Oppenheimer, and we left with a institutional study of how things came to be and ended and where they ended up. And that's great and all. That's nothing wrong with that. And it's funny too, because I guess I will say I have a special spot for Oppenheimer. Not that I don't have like a fanboy spot. That'd be kind of weird to have a fanboy spot, right, for him. But he was an early inspiration for me to get into physics and mathematics when I was in high school. Just reading about the Manhattan Project and the urgency to be able to take control of the world, basically, was just cool to read about when I was little.
That's cool. I didn't know that. I didn't know that was an inspiration there.
Yeah, he was probably the first physicist I was real into. Didn't realize how, I don't know how I missed it. I didn't realize it was that big of a deal. I didn't realize how, based off the movie at least, didn't realize how controversial he was and that they thought he was a communist, but I guess they also thought anyone who was kind of intellectually powerful was a potential threat to the United States. Because I know Einstein went through some of that too.
Yeah. And, you were probably way more interested in the science of it than the politics of it anyway. So
absolutely.
It makes sense. Like, oh, they thought he was a communist? All right, cool. But what about this? So, it makes sense.
Yeah. Well, this is not by just me and probably you to some degree. I'm not sure. But this is probably the most anticipated movie of the year, just on the stage of film. Because Christopher Nolan is, he's Christopher Nolan. People tend to think he's great.
That's not me, I guess.
Yeah.
You say Christopher Nolan, I'm like, all right,
cool.
Who's that?
You're like, who's that?
That doesn't impress me. Your name doesn't impress me. Maybe I'm not there with him. And the little bit of films we've seen by him haven't impressed me.
Yeah, not like people talk about him, at least. I'm with you.
Yes.
The only film that really speaks to me that he's made that I've seen is Interstellar. There's only 2 directors who demand my butt in a seat at all costs, and that's Ari Aster and Robert Egger.
Yeah, all these films suck. All his films suck.
You haven't seen most of them.
No, but the ones I've seen suck.
Which ones have you seen?
Well, I guess I didn't finish Tenet. Tenet or Tenant? NT? Tenant?
Tenet, like the tenant of a house?
Tenet?
Or an apartment?
Tenet?
Yeah.
Tenet. That one put me to sleep. I swear to you, I tried my hardest to keep my eyes open. I did. And I just couldn't. Oh my God, was it boring. Interstellar was good, but it's been a while since I've seen it, so I can't really tell you here.
Interstellar is awesome. It's undeniably awesome. Except the end, of course. The end. Oh, that end.
The Dark Knight Rises? Alright. Okay. That's just an okay there. Probably the only Batman movie I've seen.
The Dark Knight Rises? You haven't seen the Joker one?
Wait, that's the one I've seen.
Oh, okay. You haven't seen... I'm not sure which one's which, to be honest.
I've seen the one with the Joker.
Okay.
So that's not that one? That's not Christopher Nolan?
No, that's Christopher Nolan. He's the Batman the Beginning, I think. Batman...
You have Batman Begins, The Dark Knight, and The Dark Knight Rises.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, The Dark Knight, the middle one is the Joker one.
Okay, that's the one I've seen.
Okay.
And that one was okay. It was just okay.
I'm surprised you didn't love that film.
I only love the Joker bits. Not the whole film.
Yeah.
But then they gave me the Joker with our boy here.
Joaquin Phoenix.
Phoenix.
Joaquin Phoenix is a person that will get me in a seat, too.
Yeah, so I no longer cared for The Dark Knight. Like, all right, I got what I needed.
Yeah, I guess I haven't seen it in a while, too, but the cop bits in The Dark Knight, the Batman films, are not very good, if I remember correctly, but of course, yeah, Heath Ledger's Joker is legendary. It is kind of cool that we have, I know you may not feel that way, but a lot of people do, and equally so with Joaquin Phoenix's Joker, we have these 2 performances of the Joker that are just totally revered in every way possible. It's very cool that it's like the Joker. What other character do we have that? And
yeah.
It's fun. Yeah, I mean, Christopher Nolan, I think, is a mixed bag. I think his films, and I think the granular part of his films are also a mixed bag. I think he's a master filmmaker, but he just makes a lot of films I don't really care for. Kind of like, I think David Lynch probably fits in that realm for a lot of people. I think David Lynch is a master filmmaker, but I can see people not liking his films. And I want to say the same thing about like someone like Steven Spielberg, but I think Steven Spielberg, after the turn of the century, has really just fallen from grace. I think he makes a lot of just garbage, like Catch Me If You Can and BFG and West Side Story, and Fabelmans I think is probably his best film in the last 20 years. But I do think Christopher Nolan kind of demands eyes to a degree of, like, he knows what he's doing at the very least.
All right, dude knows how to budget. Cool.
He knows how to budget, I guess. I thought he made expensive films. I thought.
I don't know.
But
I don't know if that was a thing.
I don't know now.
Yeah.
I thought that was part of the controversy between him and Warner Brothers, but that may, I guess, have been a creative control thing, like it is with a lot of people who make movies.
All right. I'll trash on him after I see his whole filmography.
Yeah, I'm gonna trash on it
wait after.
at each stop.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
When we rank all of Christopher Nolan's films.
Although, we're about to talk about this one, and I liked it.
Sure. Yeah, no, I think this is a great film. I think this is a great film.
I'll take back half of my trash talk.
Yeah. Well, you just trash talk it when it, like, I mean, I've never seen, I think, Insomnia.
As I see it.
As you see it,
Okay.
Calls him as he sees him,
Calls him as he sees him. Got him.
I'm not going to lie. Batman Begins, I haven't seen it. And, since it came out, Batman Begins kind of sucks, And I like Dark Knight and Dark Knight Rises. But Batman Begins, I'm not sold on. And to be honest, I think Robert Pattinson might be a better Batman.
Ooh.
So I don't know.
I'm there with you.
And I have never seen Memento, and I think that's one of his, people look at as like one of his great films. That, I think it's that, Memento, Dark Knight, the middle one, Interstellar, and Dunkirk, and now Oppenheimer is in that group. I think that's like the ones.
What about Inception?
No, I don't think Inception is usually thrown in there.
Oh, okay.
That's just my mom's favorite.
Got you.
Yeah, she's a sucker for Inception.
Okay.
I want to see Inception. It's long as fuck, and it's hard to commit to that, But
yes,
especially because it's old. It's not old, but it's like older now, and the premise is kind of stupid. The dream within a dream within a dream thing, and at the very end, is he even in a dream still? I'm just like, I could not give a fuck less. I'm sorry, it's just not working for me. I guess I don't know the actual premise, what the plot is about, but just the whole concept of being within a dream within a dream within a dream is just so ugh to me. But what did you think about Oppenheimer? There's a lot here.
I liked it a lot.
Good. I'm glad to hear that.
Liked how a lot it was.
Yeah.
I really did.
I did too. It's a lot. I mean, I guess just from I know you empathize with me on this, but just sitting in one place, we saw this at the theaters, but sitting in one place and not being able to pause and no subtitles, gives me a little bit of anxiety.
Yes.
So
agreed. But I didn't feel it here.
That's good.
I didn't feel it. Maybe I felt it like 15 minutes before the film was about to end, and then I'm like, oh, it's 15 minutes, all right, cool, and then it was immediately gone. But I liked a lot of things about this film. I liked, that it had science, it had drama. It was a very serious film, which I don't typically like very serious films. They have to be really good in order for me to like them, and they have to be very well paced. They can't be too slow because, I'm a child.
And great performances.
Yeah, and great performances.
I mean, we've talked about before that they go kind of unsung and underappreciated. Great actors in general.
Mm-hmm.
We all love Joaquin Phoenix and whatnot and stuff, but acting is definitely underappreciated. So it helps drive a long film, especially, and a dramatic film.
I liked that we have explosions. We have smart dudes, people. You gotta love smart fucking dudes here.
Especially when they don't make them characters, like cartoon characters. I was really worried about Einstein being just, whatever, just how you kind of think of Einstein and on, like, in your fucking school where there's a poster of him saying some stupid quote with his tongue sticking out. It's like, where's the respect? We trivialize these people and they become fucking memes.
I know.
Is it funny? Damn. It might be, but it's cringe, really. But I think they handled Einstein beautifully here. They made him a little chubby. Yes. Love it. They made him old. They made him, this is where, where Christopher Nolan kind of shines in obscuring sound and stuff. He has a very thick Austrian German kind of thing going on in his voice.
Mm-hmm.
I love it.
Yeah, no. Then you give me all this, and then you make me cry because I cried. I teared up. I did, and then You give me a fucking panic attack. You give me an anxiety attack. I walk out of there with just feeling, having an existential crisis and just feeling like a shitty person for even being in this country. Like, oh my God. But then sympathizing because above all, I consider myself someone who likes science and is scientifically minded, I guess, if you want to put it that way. So we had to do this, for science, right?
On some level, sure. Just like going to Mars, it's like by what means do we get there by? But
yeah, so now I'm confused because I want it to happen, but I didn't want all these people to die. And oh my God, it was awesome. And then you have this cast who's a lot too. You have Robert Downey Jr., you have Matt Damon, you have Josh Peck, of all people. Okay, cool. And then we had one of the Wolf brothers. Which one was him? Which one?
For a split second, Alex.
Alex.
If he's acting, it's probably Alex. Because the other one's only been in that Netflix show, I think, right? Nate.
Yeah, we have Alex Wolff, Emily Blunt. I mean, what?
Florence
Cool.
Pugh.
Florence Pugh, yes.
I think we had Ben Affleck's brother too, Casey Affleck.
Oh my gosh.
We were missing Ben. Where's Ben at?
I'm glad award-winning director Ben Affleck was not in this film.
Same.
But
Matt was a little much, to be honest.
Who?
But Matt Damon.
I think this was his best movie here.
Well, I was gonna say I did like him in this role because he plays that kind of funny guy.
Yeah.
And he played a good general. I bet I was a little iffy with him at the beginning.
Yeah. And not only do you give me all this, you give it to me in 3 hours, which I was hesitant about, but oh my God, it was great. It was great.
What do you think about our main character's performance? How do you say his name?
Cillian Murphy?
Yeah, they're British. Cillian and Christopher Nolan.
Uh-huh.
So they say Killian. And I'm just gonna have to stop them right now. That's not how you say that name. It's Cillian Murphy.
If you're gonna say Killian, is that it?
Yeah, that's what he said.
Can you make it with a fucking K? I don't know.
Yeah. Fucking British people.
Fucking British people. No, I think he did a great job. I think everyone here did a great job. I don't think there was anyone who lacked, who had a weak performance here. I mean, I don't know what to say because it was all so good. I guess maybe we can start with the things we didn't like about it because I have a lot of things I loved about it. I think one of the things that just stuck out to me the most about not liking it, and it's happened in several films that we've covered before, but I don't know why these things just kind of irk me. It's those little scenes. I don't remember what you called them. Cut-ins. You call them cut-ins. When Oppenheimer was thinking, or he was closing his eyes and maybe having his little anxiety moments here or whatever.
Yeah,
and
especially that first one, it felt like a thinking montage.
Yes, and it's like, okay, here's some little waves. I guess if you don't know what a wave looks like, here it is, and accompanied by this weird sound, or here's some exploding stars, or some red lights, or I don't even remember what some of the other ones were, but it was just kind of weird to me having that. Like, I don't understand the point of it besides irking me. I don't think that was his point though.
No. Yeah, they're kind of like physics onboarding videos. What you imagine, like
yes.
we were talking about in Black Demon or whatever it was. I'm torn between that two because part of me likes it in that it builds this narrative for us that that Oppenheimer's working in this space that he's kind of disturbed in by the quantum nature of just where we are, which is very, Sartre, it's very, very existentialist.
Yes.
And it's very cool. And I like the sounds. I like how loud it'll just fucking get all of a sudden. I like that.
Yes. I like the sound. I didn't like them with those images.
Yeah. And I I do like the images, but it's just they are kind of silly. Like they maybe could work, and I'm not sure where I would put them, but they can maybe work. But man, they make me think of Jimmy Neutron's Brain Blast.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious.
And that's a problem. That's a personal problem, of course. I'm sure a whole generation feels that too. But they do work for me. Maybe they just happen too often, because there's like 3 or 4 instances of it.
It's a lot.
It is a little bit, and it maybe should. I feel like it didn't happen in like consistent ways. Like the first time I felt like he was just thinking, and then one time later it happened when he was basically having a panic attack.
Yes.
And so if we could have had that happen exclusively when he was maybe having some kind of anxiety attack, that would have worked a little better. But I feel like the first one really, it sets the stage for like, all right, this is his brain blast kind of. You know what I'm talking about? Have you seen the movie?
Yes.
Jimmy Neutron.
I think I've seen all of them. Aren't there more than one?
You didn't watch the show, right?
No. I watched the show.
You just didn't like it.
I just didn't like it.
Oh, okay. So,
if something else was on,
I see.
I would rather watch that. But if this was on, and,
I see.
You know, I'd still watch it. Yeah, I know the characters. I know his brain blast.
Okay. That's kind of how I felt about Fairly Odd Parents for the most part.
I'm the opposite.
Yeah,
I love Fairly
and that's kind of
Odd
funny
Parents.
because they somehow, for some fucking reason, they made them connected.
They
literally made them connected with several movies, which the movies were cool,
yes,
of course. But I don't get why those two things, you know? It would have been funny shit if we got, in some alternate universe, we got a Jimmy Neutron SpongeBob thing or a Fairly Odd Parents SpongeBob thing. That would have been weird.
Maybe because they were both, like, bullied.
Maybe. And they had home lives, very domestic and yeah.
Bobo best friends.
Yeah. Because I guess in an alternate universe, maybe you could have seen Dexter's Lab and Jimmy Neutron, or maybe Dexter's Lab and Fairly Odd Parents. But Jimmy Neutron, or Dexter, of course, was a Cartoon Network, though, so
right.
Hard to do. Or maybe not today. Maybe you might see that happen today. Everybody plays ball, but yeah, I'm with you. I'm going back and forth in this because the images themselves are very cool. You know, if you had a still of them, they look very cool.
I could look at them on Google.
That's what I'm saying. Like, they're just if you just freeze it, it's like, okay, it's a cool image. It's like, what does it add up to? It's not really anything. You know, it's just kind of. It does kind of elevate this character into that he's disturbed on a different kind of realm of physics and reality, and that's cool. But I feel like it starts to. I know Christopher Nolan's kind of criticized for spoon feeding his audience, and that this I think is that example in this movie, and that he, it's forcing that onto the audience. But if they could just back that up just a little bit, maybe not take it out completely, back it up a little bit, and then. It's the people who truly understand what's happening with this character and what this means in physics and what this means for the world. It talks to the people who know and who have done their homework, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know. I am very torn on those little sections.
I mean, I wish maybe they would have, in the instance when he was having anxiety or panic or whatever. I think I almost would have liked it better if he would have just kind of shut his eyes and we were just in complete darkness, but still had those sounds. I feel like that would have resonated with me more than just laughing at silly images that mean absolutely nothing to me.
Yeah.
But when, I'm having anxiety or panic or something and I kind of just want to close my eyes, but I'm still feeling how I'm feeling and it's all in your fucking head, like sounds. I don't know. I didn't want him there. I wanted something else. So get more creative with that.
Yeah, and he does when he's having that little patriotic meeting.
Oh my God, I love that.
It's great. Bit.
It was great.
We'll probably bring it up here in a little bit too again, but we get a great representation of his anxiety and what this means for the rest of humanity.
And we don't have any of those silly images there.
There are none? I thought there might have been none.
No, okay. There we have lights and blurriness and kind of alternate scenarios of the audience exploding or burning and their face melting off, and then we have these like zoom in on people laughing, zooming in on people crying, like it was beautiful. It was beautifully done there. I needed that. What you did there in the other sections.
Yep.
But I understand this was a big moment. This was the moment where you're supposed to feel like, you know, like a shitty individual right now. So I get it, but.
And it's complemented by what he's saying. You know, he's like, you know, the Japanese didn't like it. You know, only if it was the Germans. You know, if we would have got it done sooner.
Yeah.
And it's just like, damn, you know, and it's just nice and super. I mean, it's. I don't know if better contrast can happen in a film.
Yes, it was awesome. That's where I shed a tear.
That's where you shed a tear.
Yes, I was like, oh my god, and everyone was just cheering, and it was disturbing me. I was getting so disturbed. It was awesome. I like films that make me feel disturbed when I'm not already at a disturbed mindset. Because then if I'm already disturbed, oh my god, no. I don't remember what movie we watched. I think it was that Don't Look Up movie that had Jennifer Lawrence and Leo.
Great movie.
Yeah, well, I was already at a weird mindset there, like, you know, in my own personal life. And then watching an end of the world movie, it wasn't a great pair. But here, oh my god, it was awesome. I always appreciate movies that, you know, do their research. And I think he's good about this, especially after watching Dunkirk. I think he's a guy, you know, Christopher Nolan is a guy who does his research. And when you have movies based off of scientific things, I feel like there's always a miss here. I can't think of one at the top of my head, but
the theory of everything.
Okay, yeah. Do you have an example?
It's more of a, I guess, a little bit of a biopic of just going through the life of Stephen Hawking, but it does kind of trivialize just the whole schooling of physics and the thought on it, I think, because it makes it fun, and physics isn't fun. It's very exhausting and time consuming, and, you know, makes you, you have to be committed. You're not going to be a proper physicist unless you basically ruin, not directly, but, you know, if you don't volunteer your entire being in it, you're not going to be worth much.
Which we had a little bit of that here, and I really liked that. I really appreciated that. But I was going to bring up that movie Hidden Figures.
Oh, that movie sucks.
It sucked. Oh my god, how are you going to do that? But anyway, I really appreciate when a movie does science justice, I guess, is what I'm trying to get at here.
Yeah.
And I think this movie did a good job, but there were some bits and pieces where I was just not okay with some of these science things. But with what you said, it made me think of that scene where he went to go see his friend, and he's like, "We need you to take our kid because we're selfish, and I'm kind of committed right now to do this thing." And I'm like, oh my god.
Yeah, yes. And it helps build this narrative of this being much more important, because it is. It's what Oppenheimer's doing is much, much more important than taking care of his own child. Just the reality of the situation.
Well, about that, I was just gonna say how that didn't need to be in the film.
Yeah.
But it was, and it gives you such a good representation of what it's like, and especially in that community. I mean, I'm not even part of that community. I just, you know, I'm a science advocate, and I love that. But the things I had a problem with were, first of all, why was no one wearing any kind of protective gear here?
Yeah.
Where was that at? I'm sure they had that.
I bet you they didn't in the 40s. Bet you they did not.
No way, man. No way. Not even some goggles?
Dude, we are...
Some goggles. Goggles were invented, like, in the 1800s.
We're, like, 60 years off from basically the birth of modern chemistry.
Oh, my gosh.
You know, we're 10 years away from us realizing that, at the point in this movie, 10 years away from us realizing that xenon is extremely toxic. Or radium, excuse me. Realizing that radium's extremely toxic to humans. And we were putting it in everything.
Okay, yes, okay, but you could have given me something here, you know? It was, I feel like it was maybe too laid back on some of the realism and that way. And I would get that because you're trying to film a movie here. You know, you don't want anyone covering their face with a mask or anything like that, especially after seeing Dunkirk and his lack of grime here. So he doesn't care for any of that, any of those things that aren't going to make his movie beautiful. But who knows? I mean, I did try to look up when at least goggles were invented, and they were invented in the 1880s.
1880s?
Yes. So by the 40s, I'm sure you guys would have had some goggles.
They were probably invented by John Dalton.
That's funny. But, okay. All right. I can get over that, you know.
I'd be willing to bet it's a little more realistic than we might think. I'm with you. It just seems today a lab setting feels much more sterile. When you see like documentaries and stuff, it is a very sterile, clean-ish, not really clean, but a very controlled, precise kind of environment. And here it looks very much more graduate classroom. Yes.
Okay. I understand that. But I'm talking about when they were actually handling this material, when they were assembling, when they were out there in construction, not wearing at least the fucking helmet. You know, I don't know when hard hats were invented. Maybe I need to do research there.
That's funny, yeah.
But, you know, those
sure, yeah,
scenes, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, because a lot of the other stuff was very, very classroom discussion kind of thing. And then there was another scene where somebody's showing somebody around. I think Oppenheimer's showing somebody around, and we walk by these two. They look like lab rooms.
Oh yeah.
And
yeah, you brought this up. They were wearing what?
They're wearing lab coats, so you know they're some sort of researchers. And when you walk by one of them, when you walk by both of them, really, they just make them look so kind of clumsy and not like they're doing any real science. You know, it was just so funny. And one of them even looked like he was holding some kind of telescope or something backwards, like he couldn't figure it out. Oh my gosh, it was hilarious. But why?
Yeah, I don't know. I want to go see. I want to rewatch those bits.
Yeah.
They didn't catch my eye in that way. I have to re-see those.
Yeah, they did for me, and you know, part of me thought it was like, oh, okay, what are you trying to say here about theoretical scientists versus research scientists, huh? Like some of them are just doing nothing, wasting their time, while the important guys here are thinking about it. But I doubt it went that far.
Yeah, no, I think Christopher Nolan takes things just way too serious to have fun like that, to be honest.
Although that would have been hilarious.
I don't think Christopher Nolan is probably very funny or cute in that way. Although we do get little instances of that, but I think that's probably strictly because of the book that he read, Oppenheimer's book. Because Oppenheimer obviously had a thing about being like, oh no, I don't have a practical bone in my body, you know.
Yeah, and we do get some of that when he's breaking shit in the lab he was in,
which was cute. Oh,
I loved it. I appreciated that.
Yeah.
So part of me is like, is that what you're trying to do here? You making fun of? What are you making fun of? But it didn't bug me. It was just like made me think, I guess.
Yeah. It's worth rewatch, if not just for that. I didn't like Josh Peck being in this.
I know. I was okay with it.
Because the whole time I was waiting for him to say something. Because he was, like Alex Wolff, man, he was on screen for maybe 5 seconds.
Right.
He hardly had anything. But Josh Peck kept popping up. I was like, okay, this guy's going to have a moment. And he did have a little moment. He flipped a switch and everything. But and they said a couple words, and I was not here for Josh Peck, man. I was not on the same page.
That was funny. I saw him, and I made a face. I'm like, oh, why? Okay, I'm okay with it. Whatever, just whatever. Don't make them do something stupid, and they didn't. So
yeah,
that was okay. And then I didn't know immediately that what was his name? Strauss.
Yeah, Strauss.
That it was Robert Downey Jr. I couldn't tell it immediately, and I'm like, oh my god, what have they done to my boy?
They aged him up like crazy.
I know.
Looks awesome.
I don't know how I felt about it.
Yeah, I have an inherent problem with Robert Downey Jr. because he's one of these characters who just doesn't know how to change the fucking cadence of his voice. Like he's just Robert Downey Jr. and everything. He doesn't know how to fucking do anything else. And it works here fine enough, but he definitely suffers from that, I think, a little bit. A lot of actors do, but I think he has such a very specific way of talking that he I feel like he kind of like Johnny Depp, I think. That they kind of need to go that extra mile and change something about them. And he doesn't, of course, here. But he's a great performance still, other than that.
Yeah, I don't know if I completely agree with that, but I might be too much of a Robert Downey Jr. fan to think of anything bad about him. How dare you, you know?
It's just one of these things, it's a very nitpicky thing, but it is one of these things just like, oh, that was Robert Downey Jr.,
I was fine with it. I liked him. I love that he was in this movie. And he was a bad guy too. Even better.
Yeah. A cool bad guy.
One thing I noticed about this film, I forgot I forgot going into this movie that it was a Christopher Nolan movie until I saw the words that popped up. It had like 1 like vision and then number 2 fusion or whatever that was, and he did that in Dunkirk. And then I'm like, wait a minute, is this a Christopher Nolan film? What's up with that?
I don't know. They normally call those title cards, but there's not any title cardness about this, because you either use a title card and that you introduce the title of the movie, or it's chapter 1, 2, 3, whatever, have your section 1, 2, 3. And then just like Dunkirk, we get them immediately back to back, and it's just like, I'm not sure what the point of that is.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't know what that is.
I thought it was just me not getting what he meant by that. But
no,
okay.
We're just not smart enough, I guess.
Got it.
You gotta have a 9,000 IQ for Christopher Nolan.
I'm sorry. I'm a failure in your title cards here.
They're weird.
Okay.
I'm with you. I'm totally with you. On the same page there. I'm sure almost everyone is. And anyone who says otherwise is probably, they're probably a film bro. Which is fine. You can be a film bro all you want, but, you're probably a film bro.
Well, speaking about film bros, how'd you feel about our audience at the movie theater?
They were obnoxious. That's the best way to put it, I think. They were obnoxious.
Yes, they were. Oh my gosh.
They talked too much. They had too much body language going on. They were going to the bathroom too much. They're too much. I did not like sitting behind these people.
Yeah, it's always an experience with people at the movie theater. That's for sure. Yeah. And how is it that when we go to see Mario with a bunch of, tiny children that were super well behaved. Oh my gosh.
And the theater's packed.
And the theater was packed. And they were way better than some of these.
Our Barbie experience and Oppenheimer experience, yeah.
Yeah. I got kicked in the back of the seat.
At both.
One was by a child, which, all right, I'll forgive that. Yeah. Just give a
it comes with the territory.
Yeah,
you can't get too mad at that. Yeah. You really can't.
Of course. And especially when you took your child to see Barbie, that was not a child movie. So that's your own fault for taking your kid and your kid getting fucking antsy, so he's going to kick the back of my seat. Yeah. All right, I can forgive that. But this movie, full grown-ass people. So grown-ass people, stop kicking the back of people's seats. Unless you're like 6 feet tall, you need to sit somewhere where you're not in anybody's way. So that's all I'm going to say about that. But yeah, they were very annoying. Almost as annoying as the girl. What did we go see?
It's one of the Fantastic Beasts movies.
Yeah. And
she was like, "Is that Snape?"
It's like, no, bitch, shut the fuck up.
Snape's not alive. Snape was born in like...
Why did you come see this film if you didn't know?
The 70s. This movie takes place in like the 30s. Or the 20s.
Yeah, movie watching experience is always something.
It is. And then no subtitles always is like, oh.
Yes.
I've gotten so used to subtitles. I used to be a non-subtitle person, but our generation, man, is totally obsessed with subtitles. And it's just, I've had to face the music on that, and that I have to just get used to it.
And it was funny that next to me, I guess, you didn't have anyone next to you when we went to see Oppenheimer, did you?
I don't think so.
Yeah, but next to me there was this old couple, and like probably 30 minutes before the movie was about to end, the old guy, I guess, whispers to his maybe wife, I don't know, they're just an old couple there. He whispers to her and says, I think that's Robert Downey Jr. And I'm like, dude, duh.
Yeah.
It was so funny.
That is funny. Good makeup.
Yeah.
They aged him up really well.
Tricky.
If they trick someone like that, that's good.
Tricky.
Because at times, yeah, it had a hard time. They made him. I could see you not recognizing that, but the voice.
Yeah, that's
oh my god.
how you know for sure that it's.
Yeah. I don't even need to see the face at all. Is this your favorite Christopher Nolan film so far?
Yeah, but I don't think there's much competition there. I'd probably have to rewatch Interstellar to maybe compare these two, but I really like this movie.
I like this movie a lot too. I was curious about Cillian Murphy taking the reins here, because he's in a lot of Christopher Nolan films. He was in Dunkirk.
Who?
Cillian Murphy.
Oh.
Did you recognize him in Dunkirk?
Yeah, he was that guy.
Yeah, okay.
Soldier they rescued. Yeah. Whatever.
And I know he's one of his guys. He's one of Christopher Nolan's guys, and so I guess it's been a long time coming that when is Cillian Murphy gonna get his big shot?
Yeah.
And he got his mega shot, because a lot of people think this is Christopher Nolan's greatest film ever made. Is it? If he's got multiple contenders, that's pretty amazing. For people, that's a sign of a great filmmaker, right? It's very cool. But I think he does an amazing job. Did you like what did you think about some of the interrogation courtroom but not courtroom scenes where they were interviewing basically each person that was affiliated with Oppenheimer? And we had that one guy, he was like the lawyer guy for the government, really fucking going hard on people. Those were kind of a focal point of the movie.
Yeah, I thought they were good. They were dramatic enough for me to like. I guess it did take a second to realize what was going on, why he was getting interrogated, and then the movie progressed, and you're like, okay, so it's about his security clearance, and then you find out this Strauss dude is evil, and then you're like, oh, okay, this is what we're doing here. Oh, got it. And I liked that they made people come in and say what they had to say about him, and you kind of know who was on his side and who was there for him. But I really loved the end, or I guess not the end, the last person that was interrogated, his wife. That was a nice moment right there.
Yeah, that was cool.
That was cool.
Yeah, I'd seen people talking about Emily Blunt's performance, and I was just like, up until that point, I was just like, she's hardly in the movie, and then she has that moment. I'm like, oh, that's, it was really good and climactic and great, excellently performed. But it reminded me of, I think her name's Nicole Kidman in The Northman, that Robert Eggers film we watched last year.
Yeah, I don't
remember the Viking
her.
guys and stuff.
I remember the movie. I don't remember her.
She's the mom, and people were saying a similar thing about her back when that movie came out, and I was just like, the whole movie, I was just like, she has said like 15 words. I don't even know what's going on, and then she has that moment with her son in like the tent or whatever, or in that little room, and that's it. And people were like, greatest performance ever. I'm just like,
what?
She's like not even a supporting character. She's like an ancillary character. She's like not even in this at all. And so I'm getting kind of similar feelings here with Emily Blunt's character.
Yeah, I didn't read anything about people saying that she had a great performance. I wouldn't call that a great performance.
Yeah, it was just she
had 10 minutes of screen time.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to say it was a great performance. It was a great supporting bit that she had going on, It was great.
Yeah. It was very almost like him trying to not give his child away, but have somebody else take care of his child, showing you what it's kind of like being in this type of community that has to basically be selfish and think of the bigger picture, I guess. It was a moment sort of like that here, that no matter what, no matter the bullshit, no matter what they've been through, they've got each other's back, which was very nice.
Yeah, I like their little cute code word for when things went well or not. You can take the sheets in.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about it's always kind of a hard thing to do, kind of like you were talking about earlier in the episode, with showing the math.
Yeah.
It's an awkward thing when capturing on camera, I think. Just nature of that, no one can fact check you, or very few people can fact check you. And if you want it to look familiar in any way to a normal audience, you're going to have to do what Hidden Figures does and just make it look like, make it look like the way they made it. Which, anything quantum related is much more complicated than getting anything into space, of course. But it's a line to walk, and I appreciate the alien kind of nature, the foreign, just, I know a little bit about quantum mechanics, but I definitely don't understand very much of the math behind it. Haven't studied much about that, but I appreciate they show you it in all of its glory, and I'm willing to bet that it's accurate because of Christopher Nolan, of course. I did notice there's one scene where he drew some circles, like 4 circles,
mm-hmm.
and I'm talking about, it was just on chalkboard. He drew 4 circles, and they're not really. He was talking. The 4 circles were kind of indicating the management of different like sectors.
Theoretical, and then the lab, and
yeah. And I did notice that some of the editing had 2 different sets of circles, so they had reshot that and drew different circles.
Oh, that's funny.
I did notice that.
Yeah, I didn't notice that.
I was like, that's a funny oversight that I can't believe got past Christopher Nolan, actually. I'm super surprised, because I feel like that's the only thing I noticed. I'm sure there's tons of other little inconsistencies like that in every movie everywhere, right? But I ever since the keys from The Last of Us HBO show, I've been looking for things like that more and more, because I noticed that one big time.
The keys?
Yeah, Joel at one point grabbed the keys on a dusty table, and he dragged them like across it, and so there's a dust, like a clean line from where he dragged the keys at, and then when a later shot happened, there was no dust line.
Oh, okay.
But there should have been, because the keys, he had already grabbed the keys and dragged them across the table.
Yeah.
Did they sprinkle more dust all over it? I guess so. Ellie's got some dust in her pocket.
That's funny.
So yeah, I try to keep an eye out for that kind of stuff, because it's fun to locate. Of course, it's impossible to get all that stuff out, especially because if you have a better shot at the cost, if you have a better take at the cost of a little inconsistency like that, it's definitely fucking worth it.
Yeah, for sure.
Especially if you're done shooting, it's like, oh, are we gonna spend $1 million more, $2 million more to get this out? No, sir. What did you think about the bomb? Literally coming together, very cool, back and forth, right? We had with that when they were piecing it together, and the explosion itself. What did you think about that and their whole setup and everything?
That was fucking awesome. I mean,
it was one of the coolest sections in a movie, little sequences I've ever seen in a movie. I think I thought it was really fucking cool.
Yes, it was really cool. It was very well done. It was built up really well, first of all, and then you have things like the weather kind of interfering with it, and you don't know if it's gonna happen, you don't know what's gonna happen, you're just as confused and frustrated as they are.
You're like, are they gonna set this off in the rain? Is that gonna matter?
What's it gonna affect you? Oh my god. And I mean, it was just awesome. I loved that when it exploded, everything was silent and we just heard him breathing. I loved it. And then there was a fucking bomb explosion, and it made me jump even though I knew it was coming. I guess I didn't know it was coming here. I guess for some reason I thought that we would see the bomb drop at Hiroshima. But it makes sense that we didn't. I really like that we didn't get any of that. I really like that. It would not have fit for the perspective here.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
But when we heard the bomb go off at, the Trinity.
Los Alamos.
Los Alamos, yeah, I guess it was the Trinity test. That's what they called it. It was awesome. It was awesome. And I guess that's the bomb everyone's been saying they've been hearing at the Barbie movie or whatever.
Oh,
That's so stupid.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, everyone's like, oh, you can hear the bomb explode when you're watching Barbie. Like, you could, because I didn't, but okay.
That's funny. Yeah, I don't remember hearing that.
Maybe we sat at a screen where it
wasn't next to it.
Yeah, it wasn't next to
Kept them on different sides
something.
of the theater.
Because we did go to the screen 1, which is not all like next to each other like the other ones. So maybe. Yeah, that was very, very, very well done. I liked how each of the scientists had their own way to accommodate for the UV light that they were about to get. How Teller put on sunscreen, and the guy in his car was like, no, I'm good. I'm going to wash it.
Got glass.
Yeah, through the windshield. And they're like, hey, okay, all right. You sure about that? Cool, dude. All right. And, everyone else was wearing goggles. Some people had that little sheet card thingy, whatever that was. Not sure what it was made
kind of glass.
So that was cool. Very, very detailed.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, and every inch was like highly produced too. Like all the mattresses and them sitting out, and then the thing they get it, the little thing they made inside of a hill to hide in and stuff. Very fucking cool. And then all the switches and gadgets and consoles and everything. Very cool. That's where Josh Peck had his time to shine.
Yeah.
And it was very fucking cool. And then we get to see, close-ups on Cillian, Oppenheimer looking out the window and stuff, and it was awesome. It was awesome. It was so awesome. And one of my favorite parts of the movie, it's just kind of, it's a small part. It's a important part, but small part as far as like the movie goes. Sort of small. I guess he gets kind of interrogated about it, but his resistance to like an H-bomb that Teller wanted them investigate. And because he knew of just whether or not that was possible or not, just the consequences that come with that. And it's just, it's just the most haunting thing that you could ever really have to face, and telling a fellow, scientist, one of the greatest in the world, no about exploring uncharted territory, but, because of what it means for, the sake of the world, or what it could mean, I guess. Well, and now we know does, I guess, but it's so crazy. It just makes you, it makes me sick to my stomach.
No, of course. I think he did a great job making you battle that, seeing that battle between science and what's good for humanity. That remorse of what has happened, but we discovered this awesome thing. Awesome in the sense of we know what it does now. We know the consequences, and that's always so cool because these are theoretical people also. So seeing their theories play out, I imagine, is one of the coolest things in the world for them. But then you have these consequences, so it's...
And at the same time, but you have I guess at the same time you have the arms race too, because if it's not Oppenheimer, if it's not the U.S., it's gonna be someone else.
Yep.
It's gonna be Russia. It's gonna be Japan. It's gonna be China.
Yep.
And it's not even a question. It is and it isn't, but it's not even really a question of like who can do it the safest and who can scare the other person out of, the race. It's because it's just too catastrophic to really put in such a trivial sense that it's just an arms race, right? It's this, it's a weapon of mass destruction. It happened way before we were alive, right? It's almost 100 years old. I guess it's about 80 to the mark, but it's just one of the most. It's the most disgusting thing to ever happen, to ever be invented. But it's also at the same time the most awesome, literally, like you said. And it's, and I didn't think they would show the bombing of Japan, but I was, of course, curious if we were gonna like see it on the news. I don't know if it was like, reported in any high fidelity way, anyways. But it, I'm glad we didn't, and I'm glad we only got to see the aftermath, basically, of Cillian's of Oppenheimer's kind of just disgust, because he was disgusted pretty much after the first act. You know, he was very excited and seeing the possibilities and stuff of what this could mean, but realizing that it's, you know, it literally, I mean, they played with it. It could literally mean the end of the world. You know, it's really, it's really cool. I don't want to say it like that, but it is really cool that they didn't show the bombing of Japan. And I know we get little like screams of like people in Japan, or just, I mean, screams or what, you know, of just people dying, whether they're Japan or not. But like in his head, they're from Japan, and during the patriotic talk and stuff, it's awesome. It's awesome. I mean, that just kind of solidifies. This movie's a funny balance of like anti-war and like high drama, or I guess low drama, what they call it. Low drama kind of conspiratorial shit. And setup, like trying to, what was Strauss's gain in this?
His what?
His gain.
His gain?
Why was he trying to take down Oppenheimer?
Because he got told. He got embarrassed about his isotopes. I don't know. If I came up with something really awesome in the scientific community and then I was wrong, I would be slightly embarrassed. I don't know if I'd go that far as to take someone down. Holy crap, dude. You know, you learn some, you gain some, you're going to be wrong. Someone's going to outsmart you.
Is Strauss a scientist?
I thought so.
This might be a blonde moment. No offense to the blondes out there. I did like that little slight that was made by maybe Teller, who told Oppenheimer that he was a politician now, not a scientist.
Okay, so it looked like Strauss did plan to study, and I think we did get that in the movie. And, you know, he just knows about it, but he didn't go through the schooling. And I think Oppenheimer said, why haven't you done that already? You know the stuff. So I would say that's a scientist. If you know the stuff, you don't have to have the degree for it if you know what you're talking about. So I don't know. But yeah, that was a great bit. He's like, take that uniform off. You look ridiculous. And he did. He took it off. There were so many small, not cute in the sense of aw, but just, I guess, cute to me, scenes I really appreciated, things I really appreciated in this movie. Like when Teller basically told the who were they? What are they called? The people that were interrogating?
It was basically some kind of body to represent the U.S. to see if he's a terrorist, right?
Yeah, but were they somebody specific?
I'm not sure. Like the body they're representing?
Yeah, like.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah, well, anyway, when they were interrogating him, and he was like, "Well, no, I don't think he was looking out for the U.S. or whatever he said about him." But then he shook his hand, and his wife was like, "Why did you shake his hand, you idiot? Like, you need to stand up for yourself, blah, blah, blah." And then at the end, years later, when he was getting this award, and his wife didn't shake his hand. I love that. That was so good.
That was good.
She was like, no. He might shake your hand, but I'm not shaking your fucking hand. Which is funny, because I think it'd be something I do. I think it'd be something we would do. I think you would be like, nah, man, it's, you know, it is what it is. It's good. Let's shake hands. And I'm like, nah, bitch. I remember when you didn't shake his hand. I'm not shaking your hand. It was good.
That's funny. What do you think about the mole? The rat? The Russian spy?
Oh, yeah. I didn't catch that. I didn't catch that he was the one that was doing it. Did you? Did you know?
I didn't. It wasn't obvious. He was my only suspect.
Oh,
but
right.
But it wasn't obvious to me. I was just like, I'm not sure, but I feel like this is the only guy who it could be. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I was like, I don't know, but I don't care.
Because I was thinking, because the only other major suspect potentially I think could be Teller, but Teller's like he's like interested in the H bomb.
Yeah,
and the
he had
H bomb
his own
is that was his own thing. Like we know the H bomb plays a bigger role in human history shortly after this, and so he obviously can't be the rat the spy. So it left me with that guy. Because he looked like he would be a spy, to be honest. His glasses. His receding hairline.
Oh my god, that's hilarious. Yeah, I honestly, I wasn't too interested in that part of the... It's like, okay, there's a rat. All right. Yeah. I'm sure we'll know who it is later. It has no consequences. He already gave what they needed. Yeah. I don't really care to know who it was.
It really isn't. It's funny to say, I think, but it's really not a big deal, at least as far as the movie goes, because it just is another cog in this, and it helps build this drama around the urgency to build this thing.
Yeah.
And so it's not that important because, like Oppenheimer said, that it's not unlikely to believe that there wasn't a spy anyways.
Right.
Russia's got some great physicists.
Yeah.
At the time and now. And so it's, it's just it's a funny little American hysteria coming out, but it just turned out to be kind of true. Which is always good. As far as movies go, it's always good.
Yeah, I do not have a favorite part because
it's a lot of great things happening.
It was a lot of great things happening.
I guess on top of that, I love American hysteria towards Russia. I love that America has this 100-year-old uncertainty and uncomfortableness with Russia. I love it.
We still have that?
Oh yeah, we have it more now than we've probably had in the last 30 years.
Our generation does? I guess that was.
Is it
my
a dying
question.
generation? Maybe. I don't know. It's definitely not the same. Yeah, it's definitely a dying thing because these old people are becoming older. Dying, of course, right? Not because it's fading, but I think the concern probably is starting to lean more into China nowadays. Because I think people are becoming more and more uncertain about what their motives are and them buying, and then many of the corporations buying up Western organizations. And then, of course, Saudi Arabia is probably the first concern on a lot of people's mind with them trying to whitewash and sport wash a lot of their... I shouldn't say really whitewash or sport wash, but like try to play ball with Western organizations, and that, I don't know if you heard about the Live PGA merger, but the U.S. isn't going to let that happen, which is just kind of crazy because that's not, as far as monies are concerned, it's not as big of a deal as like the Microsoft Activision thing, but it maybe in some minds helps that letting that happen lets maybe people think that Saudi Arabia is not unlike the West, that they're just one of us, and when that's just not true. We got at some point we need to we can't pretend.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've heard about the Live PGA merger. No. Those are golfing organizations.
Okay.
And about a year ago, they tried to basically buy all the PGA players, and a lot of them were like, no, they make enough money that they can afford to say no, to, twice, 3 times the pay rate, because they're already many times over millionaires, right? And so they can afford to say, no, we're good. We don't need $90 million. I'm happy with my $30 million. And then we got a lot of these players who said no, and now it's a lot of them. It's kind of a weird dramatic thing, right? Because a lot of them said no, but now Live and PGA are trying to merge, and they could have cashed out early on, and that whole thing. But it looks like it's not going to happen unless something's already happened I'm not paying attention to. But the Russian hysteria definitely lives on in our older generations for sure.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I didn't think it was our generation.
I think it might still, if we were a little more connected to what's happening in the world, but the U.S. is so decoupled from world affairs, I think.
Yeah, I definitely agree.
Which is something. that's gonna come to a head at some point in some way, won't it? It always does. I don't know what that means. But yeah, I do love seeing that in film because it's so weird. Because you hear about the reality of it too, especially if you have older parents or older people in your life where they just say things about just not trusting Russia. It's just like, what exactly is that? Where does that come from? Well, we know where it comes from, I guess, but like, it's just crazy that was like, we had like this anti-patriotism towards Russia. It was like the total opposite, if that makes sense. Xenophobia, basically, straight up.
I don't think I've had that happen personally. I've definitely heard it more towards, Mexicans or even black people, I guess, but not in the Africa way, just, more hate towards blacks or...
Yeah, just petty racism.
Yeah, or Mexicans immigrating here from, we're so close, I guess. But not really about Russians. I've only really seen that on TV. Haven't had anything personal, anyone say anything. So... I thought that was just kind of a TV thing.
That makes sense. I mean, our government likes to pretend that Mexico's a fucking problem. Or at least a lot of people here like to pretend it is. We're not being, Mexico's not invading the U.S. right now like Russia is Ukraine. Not that we should be involved, of course, but that's a little suspect at the very least, right? A country invading another country. It's a little suspect. Just the concept of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think about the timeline skips, the timeline hopping around and stuff? Was it a problem at all here?
No, I don't think it was a problem here. I think they did a great job with either making it black or white or, maybe aging them.
Yeah.
When he had gray hair, when he had wrinkles, they did a good job here. It's not hard to do it when it's such a big time skip. We know when he's in school. We know when he's at university. We know when he's old as fuck and receiving a medal. I didn't have a problem with it.
Yeah. Makes more sense here than something like Dunkirk. That's all happening like in the same day.
Yes.
So, yeah, that makes more sense contextually. What do you think about the whole Oppenheimer-Einstein interactions? Those are going to be big focal points for a lot of people because, they're iconic figures in science history.
I mean, they were cool. In what way?
Just in whatever way comes to mind. We had the philosophical kind of moment happen with them too when we finally got to see what they said at the pond.
Yeah, I guess it was funny. It was funny first of all that Strauss was like, "What did he tell him about me?" And the other guy was like, "Dude, they were probably not even talking about you."
Yeah.
And he's like, "Huh? No way."
Yeah.
And then we find out what they really said, and they're like, "Oh shit, they were definitely not talking about you, dude. They're talking about much bigger problems."
Yeah, there's bigger fish to fry.
Like, the problems are so big, they went over everyone's head on how big they were.
Yeah, and that gets repeated throughout, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I hope that point doesn't go over people's heads who see the film, much like Barbie, where I think or Greta Gerwig is definitely making fun of women. I hope the gun barrel we've kind of shoved down our throats doesn't go kind of understated when people go and see this film about how big of a deal it is. I don't think I don't think you could probably argue there's a bigger deal to ever happen other than the later invented H-bomb, which is just, and I'm sure other nuclear bombs that have been, iterated on that are even bigger, and how that in itself is just a problem, the existence of them.
I have a feeling it did go over a lot of people's head because we're not at war now. No one's throwing bombs around. No one's threatening me personally. No one's calling me or texting me. No one's putting it on the news that we're gonna, something's gonna happen to me. And you just sat through 3 hours of this film, and hopefully you know that this is what it's trying to say throughout the whole film since it begins. At least maybe not Act 1, but Act 2 and onward. Hopefully you know that this is what is going through not only Oppenheimer's mind, Christopher Nolan's mind, but what should be going through your mind. Hopefully it doesn't take that end conversation with him and Einstein and, you know, it's them saying what they say and then we have this view of the world catching on fire. Hopefully it doesn't come to this.
It's a great image, though.
Yeah. Hopefully you're thinking about it already.
Yeah.
But then if you weren't, and then at the end of 3 hours, you're probably not going to. You're like, oh, okay, all right, big moment, cool. Let me go home. Let me go do what I need to do. Let me go pee. Let me go, you know?
Yeah.
So I also don't have a lot of faith in people. You know, I would love to say that everyone who watched this film is now very motivated and passionate about
peace
and figuring out what's going on, not only in the world, but what are people up to? What are people inventing nowadays? Where's what? And then especially with, you know, all the alien shit coming out.
I was about to ask you something about that.
Yeah, what you know, what is happening? What is going on? Let me get educated.
What do you think about aliens becoming a very relevant and like acclaimed kind of thing right after we start dropping bombs, right after we start dropping atomic bombs? Aliens all of a sudden are a big focal point of human history. With the Roswell incident, all these things started unfolding like it's like almost when aliens understood and saw that we had the power to split an atom, they are interested in us, and now we are just totally like fucking just inundated in alien shit today, in whatever form that is, and all the cubes and weird pill-shaped things that we see move through the water and over cow fields and whatnot, and just like weird ass shit that's gone on the record, the U.S. record, of being unexplainable. It's weird, isn't it?
It's eerie.
It's a big theory that after we dropped the bomb in Los Alamos, that we kind of triggered the interest in another species.
I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, that's a lot of power. That's crazy. That's the first time something like that has ever happened.
From some of the planets that we study, exoplanets, if a nuclear bomb went off facing us, we would be able to see it. That's how much power went out, and so that another species from somewhere else could potentially have seen it.
That's all I can say. That's eerie. That's freaky. It makes sense. And just kind of hard to think about, really. It's almost like it's too I don't want to say too real, but just not in my day-to-day, you know? I'm worried about waking up in the morning, going to work. I'm worried about filling up my gas and hopefully no one's going to steal my purse. You know, I'm worried
Yeah.
I'm worried about these day-to-day things that it's so hard to be worried about if there's aliens out there. Like, I don't know if there's aliens out there, but I'm just trying to make it to the next day here. I'm trying not to have, you know, a panic attack. I'm trying to take my medicine, trying to get healthy, go to the gym. But sometimes you gotta fucking put all that aside and just educate yourself.
Yeah.
Because who cares about the fucking gym if they invade us?
I think we have every reason to believe that if we have been visited by aliens, that they are, by every intention, very peaceful.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't gotten invaded so far. But if we keep coming up with shit, who knows?
Yeah, or at least as far as we know, we haven't been visited.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because what happens if we're introduced to a species, an intergalactic species that shows us technology where we don't have to have any kind of, we don't have to provide in any way. We don't need food because we can have, through this technology, we can have infinite food. We don't need power because through this technology, we can have infinite power. It's going to jeopardize our entire society. And then what happens to all the cultures surrounded by, or have the core of religion?
Yeah, I think we need to start another podcast to answer that.
Well, thank you guys for listening to this episode of the Filmsteins. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
And that's a wrap for today's episode of the Filmistines. Thanks for tuning in and joining us on our cinematic journey. We hope you enjoyed our discussion and gained some new insights and perspectives on the world of movies. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast on your favorite platform, especially Patreon at patreon.com/Filmistines, and follow us on social media for more film-related content. We love hearing from our listeners, so if you have any feedback, suggestions, movie recommendations, or book recommendations, please feel free to reach out to us. Until next time, keep watching and keep loving the magic of movies. This is the Filmistines signing off.